Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadiens get a big win, a big needed win, 6-3 over the Vancouver Canucks. And like I said, we need points wherever we can get them, and this is a big way for us to get those points. It doesn't really move us too much in the standings because unfortunately, everybody that we're trying to catch in the standings is also winning big games right now. But even so, it keeps us in the mix, in the loop a little bit, especially considering the fact that Buffalo, Boston, Toronto, all of those teams below us are also fighting really hard to take our spots in the Atlantic top three right now. So it is super important, especially against teams that, like Vancouver, who are very, beatable. They're down at the bottom of the league right now. It's definitely important that we get those wins, and we do just that. In this one, we get that 6-3 win. A really solid game. I feel like there were definitely times where the Canadiens could have fallen behind. They did fall behind twice, in the scoreboard itself, but, there are definitely times that we could have been, out of it a little bit and, just never find a way back. But we were able to battle back, as we've done a lot of times throughout this season, is find a way back into games that, we may have lost our way in a little bit. And this one is no exception here. The Canadiens absolutely dominated the first, major aspect of the first period. Couldn't actually capitalize on any of their chances though. But yeah, at one point I think it was 7-1 in shots in favor of the Canadiens in the first period. We are just absolutely peppering with shots on the Vancouver goaltender, who isn't their starting goaltender by any means. And what does it matter against the Canadiens? I feel like everybody, when they play against the Canadiens, especially in the Bell Center, they play at the top of their game. So we were definitely getting a Vancouver Canucks team that is very different from what other teams might have been seeing in at this point in the season. They're in the bottom of the league as of right now, but I felt like they definitely played a really solid game. They're definitely trying to turn things around, it seems, but we get the better of them. But yeah, we were able to really take it to them in the first period there. We didn't really get too much for it. And then Elias Pettersson puts home the first goal of the game, and that was kind of a warning flag, a little bit of a red flag for the Canadiens there. Are we going to get, into another situation where we just can't find a way to score despite, really carrying the pace of the game, and then just fall behind and lose? So they put that one home. Dobesh, by the way, playing his first game in a while. Obviously, this rotation that's going on has kind of have shafted him a little bit, put him at the short end of the stick there, and he hasn't played in a while. But I felt like, generally speaking, he played pretty well. He got scored on 3 times here, but none of the goals against were really all that egregious in my opinion. A lot of rebounds, 2-on-1s, all that kind of stuff that went against us tonight. So I felt like, for somebody who's been sitting out for quite a while, he had a pretty solid game. But again, I'm still very much in favor of limiting this 3 goalie rotation back down to 2, because it just doesn't really make sense to me why 3 goalies are rotating through, because guys like Dovesh end up playing 1 game every 2 weeks or something like that, and it's really difficult for the Canadiens, and really difficult for him to perform well when he's not seasoned really. He's not playing nearly as much as he should be for a guy who has been playing really well this season when he's actually in the net. So again, that's my piece on that. But I think despite all of that, he played a pretty solid game. Noah Dobson is able to get us back on the scoreboard in the first period, pretty much 3 seconds maybe into a power play opportunity that we got late into the first period. He just gets a face-off win from Suzuki that he just bombs home from the point and goes straight in, and that ties the game for us. It's Noah Dobson's 9th of the season on the power play and Nick Suzuki's 35th assist of the season. So looking really good there, and just really, what's the point in passing it around? Just rip it on net the first chance you get, and it goes straight in. I like to see that, and especially from Dobson. I feel like he's finding his skill set a little bit more with this team. I feel like as a guy who can just get a heavy shot on net, make some solid shooting, passing plays, all that kind of stuff. So I really like to see him just getting pucks to the net, because the Canadiens do not do enough of that at all. I think that's a pretty clear thing. The Canadiens do way too much passing around and not enough shooting. So It was good to see him just get the puck to the net and just make that happen. The lead didn't last too long into the second period. Evander Kane scores to make it 2-1 in favor of the Canucks, but we respond back a couple minutes later. Alexander Carrier scores of a nice passing play. Nick Suzuki finds Carrier kind of streaking through the high slot, and he puts home his second of the season. Nick Suzuki gets his 36th assist of the season, and Texier his 9th assist of the season. So a nice passing play, a nice way to get us back into this game. Get us tied up. And then literally 20 seconds later, Carrier scores another goal, his third goal of the season. Slavkovsky and Demidov, the assists, their 20th and 27th assists of the season, respectively. And that's kind of an electric moment. I mean, we've seen some really fun things over this last couple of games with the Texier hat trick that we had. And now, we've already got, we're in a position where a Carrier, of all guys, could be scoring a hat trick in this one, which is insane. But it was really cool to see, especially 20 seconds apart, for him to score twice in a row there, to give us the lead, and that really gave us some momentum that I think we never really fully gave back to the Vancouver Canucks. They were able to score at the end of the second period to tie the game up, or at the end, like a couple minutes after that, those string of goals. But either way, I felt like we really harnessed the momentum from that effort there, and we never really gave it fully back to the Canucks, and that was a big deal, especially from not a noted goal scorer at all. Carrier is very much a defensive defenseman that we have to kind of lock things down. He hasn't really been playing that role to a T this season, in my opinion, but either way, he was able to find a way to come up big in the second period there and give ourselves a chance to win this game here, and takes the lead. So a really impressive effort from him to get those goals, and obviously credit goes to the forwards on both of those goals that were able to set him up for those, especially Slavkovsky and Demidov. They played really well for that second one. Slavkovsky did a lot of great work using his body and just getting a nice pass across, and Carrier crashing the net was able to put that one right into the top of the net there. So a really impressive effort to get ourselves in the lead there. And then going into the third period, we really never looked back at all. Mike Matheson's able to score from a nice wrist shot from the top of the circle, kind of point area. His 5th of the season there. Cole Caulfield with the assist, he gets his 22nd of the season, and then Texier gets another assist, his 10th of the season. Texier continuing to be a really big factor for this team, which is still kind of insane to me, but I'm not going to complain too much about it. He's been looking really, really good as of late. Obviously that hat trick game he had, but also just finding a way to get points and finding a way to make things happen on that top line. So I'm pretty satisfied with his effort as well. And then Uri Slavkovsky absolutely snipes one. Demidov and Hudson get assists on that one. He just gets a nice pass from behind the net from Demidov, and he makes no mistake on it. Just puts it right into the top right corner. And that was really, a deal breaker. They kind of broke the game open a little bit for the Canadians. They really never looked back. We were up one at one point, and then Slavkovsky gives some needed insurance there. So that kind of sealed the deal, in my opinion. But yeah, Slavkovsky gets his 17th goal of the season. Ivan Demidov his 28th assist, and Lane Hudson his 37th assist of the season. So good to see all of those guys getting points on the board. And then Kapanen, just for good measure, scores another one late into the game there, his 16th goal of the season, which keeps him in the conversation for rookie goal leader, which is really cool to see from him. Definitely not something that we expected, obviously, going back to the beginning of the season here, that we'd not expect that he would be in that conversation, but he certainly is. Demidov and Slavkovsky, of course, getting the assist on a Kapanen goal. Demidov's 29th assist and Slavkovsky's 21st assist of the season. So and that's the way that the game ended. We were able to kind of kill off some late penalties and stuff like that to make everything go the way we wanted to. And at the end of the day, we got 41 shots on net. We win. The face-off percentages, we scored on the power play. They weren't able to score on the 2 penalties that we took. We were able to hit more, block more, all of that stuff. So we beat them in pretty much every category in this one. So Again, like a really impressive win for the Canadians. We had two guys getting 3-point nights, Slavkovsky and Demidov playing really, really well. Suzuki also had a couple of points in this one. So everybody really, got their share on the scoreboard. And, obviously Carrier, you got to give it up to him for scoring 2 goals there. I feel like those 2 goals are the big difference in this one. I don't think we win unless we score, 1 or both of those goals in this one. So really impressive efforts from everybody. And that just kind of feels like a theme recently for the Canadians, is we're seeing a lot of, guys who don't normally, contribute to the goal scoring. Like, obviously, you would expect guys like Cole Caulfield and, Nick Suzuki and those kind of guys to be the ones who are scoring goals. And they're definitely, playing their part for sure. But I feel like lately we've seen a lot of unsung heroes like Alexander Carrier doing their part as well to contribute to these wins. And that's a big difference maker in my opinion. That's why we're winning these games, why we're playing so well, so successfully, is because we have, contributions from all across the lineup. And I feel like every game recently there's been, a new guy who kind of emerges and helps the Canadians get over the hump and get a win there. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. It's a really good game for the Canadians. They, unfortunately, as I mentioned, stay in third in the Atlantic because the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings just do not stop winning, unfortunately. The Tampa Bay Lightning on a 10-game winning streak as of right now. They are 10-0-0 in their last 10. The Detroit's on a 4-game winning streak of their own, which puts them in the top of the Atlantic. So the competition is not going away. You would love to be able to sit with, 58 points and just be chilling in top of the Atlantic or something like that. But unfortunately, there is no rest for the wicked for us right now. Sitting in third in the Atlantic, Buffalo right behind us with 52 points. Obviously, it's a 6-point gap, which makes this win even more important. Obviously, getting those 2 points, to increase that separation between us and the rest of the pack there. But we got to continue to win these games, because I don't really see teams like Buffalo and Boston and Toronto even slowing down right now. Florida obviously is going to get some guys back at a certain point and start making a push back for the playoffs. So we need to be able to get as many points as we possibly can, especially against these lighter opponents that we're facing, because our competition is not slowing down by any means. So yeah, so moving on from this one, we have a road game coming up tomorrow. So it's really no rest for the wicked for the Canadians here. They're playing another game tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. Obviously, the last time the Canadians played the Capitals, it did not go great for them. They lost 8-4, I believe, in that one. So definitely another game where the Canadians are looking for some revenge. A big, hard-hitting team. It looks like we might be able to get, Josh Anderson back into the lineup for this one. Might even see some other guys getting back in the lineup, but I think Josh Anderson is the one guy that I've heard most conclusively is looking towards a comeback, and especially when we're playing against a guy like Tom Wilson. I'm not sure if he's available for Washington either, but either way, there's a ton of hard-hitting players on the Washington Capitals, so having a guy like Anderson to kind of give some of that back to the Capitals is going to be a big help if we can get him. But either way, I feel like the Canadians should come into this game with a chip on their shoulder after how the last one went. And obviously, as we've been saying pretty much every video for the last 20 games or something like that, is every point matters. We need to be able to get as many points as we possibly can, because our spot in the standings is not even remotely safe right now. But yeah, so we'll have to see what goes on there tomorrow, especially, we'll have to see who's, starting in net. If we're going to go back to Montembeault, we're going to go with Fowler, and then at what point are they going to make a decision on, who's staying and who's going. But yeah, that all remains to be seen. So that's all I have for you guys on this one, and hopefully I will see you after a big 2 points in a revenge performance against the Washington Capitals.